Was there really some progress in Washington this week? It appears so. Maybe Congress finally woke up and smelled a little coffee after a Gallup poll showed that their approval rating at an all-time low 13%. My first question is, who are those 13% who likes what they're doing? But here to grade the Congress and the week that was, former Hillary Clinton aide Jami Floyd, former Democratic candidate from New York, Reshma Saujani, and host of Red Eye, Greg Gutfeld. Good to have all of you guys here with us. You just watched the conversation that I had with Congressman Weiner. I want to begin by saying I really do appreciate his coming. A lot of Democrats won't come on Fox, but he is always willing to do that. For that, I respect him a great deal. But there's clearly a philosophical difference. Forget the policy difference. I mean, I really get the impression that he thinks government ought to just say, here's how much money we need. We're going to come get it from whoever we decide we're going to come get it from. Jami, why would you say I'm wrong, he's right?
That was a little bit country and a little bit rock and roll, wasn't it?
Which was the country or the rock and roll?
I'm not going to touch that. It was a lot of fun to watch that, and I want to commend both you and the congressman for having that conversation, because that's the kind of conversation we need to be having here on Fox, on all the networks. Am I right? Am I right? And on Capitol Hill, right? On Capitol Hill.
Yeah.
And it concerns me that we don't have that kind of dialogue more. It's going to be interesting to see, though, now that your party is the party in opposition. Your party was the party in opposition. It's much easier, I think, Governor, to be the party in opposition.
I agree with that.
Than it is to be in the majority.
I totally agree.
I want to see what's going to happen now that you have some power up there on the Hill.
But where does he get the idea that the government has a right?
Well, this is the age-old battle in our country, isn't it? Isn't this the battle that goes all the way back to the founders? You know, what was the Tea Party really about? Was it about what we tax for or whether we tax at all? I think this is what we've been struggling with going back to Adams and Jefferson, and that is the debate the two of you just had, the Adams and Jefferson debate.
Governor,
don't tax me at all, or we're here to tax.
All right, Greg.
Please, before I pass out.
All right.
I have to say one thing. Congressman Weiner is appropriately named.
Now.
No. This is exactly the kind of disrespect we're talking about.
I don't care if I'm being a jerk. I'm sorry. What I saw is a man who argues against achievement. This is a man who doesn't believe you have a right to be rich. The estate tax is an attack on dead people. They've already been taxed. You're taxing corpses, and it's not about being the son of a rich man. My mother is 86 years old. She's not a rich man. She's a nice little old lady who's going to be taxed.
No, the estate tax estate tax is always described improperly. The estate tax only affects the very, very wealthy people with what? Estates.
I want to get
Reshma in here, too. Tell me, why is it, let's say a farm, that's land that's been in the family since the 1800s. On the books, it may be worth several $1 million. You couldn't sell it for that. There are people in my state for whom this is reality. They have farm equipment. Now, if they die, their kids are going to have to sell off half the acreage to pay the taxes. Why should we penalize the heirs?
Governor, I think Congressman Weiner's point is that, so I played around with the New York Times deficit calculator, and I encourage everybody to, because, figuring out the budget is the puzzle. And the reality is that there are certain things that we have to pay for in this country, education, defense, and we have to figure out how we're going to get the money and what's the most equitable way to get the money. And that's what this debate is really about.
Has anybody bought a sandwich in New York? We have to redefine what the word rich is, because a couple of $1 million is not rich. And like you said, a farm, a ranch-style home.
I don't know where you're living.
But
I live in a tiny apartment in New York City.
It's rich. A couple of $1 million is rich. A couple of $1 million is rich. A couple of wait.
This sounds like Anthony Weiner times 4, and we've got to take a break. And when we do, we're going to continue with all of this energy and excitement, and later we'll calm it down when Donnie and Marie come on board. My gosh, we're going to need them by the time they get here. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Big issue, and Reshma, let's start with you this time. Overall job approval of Congress, 13%. I mean, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
So is Congress absolutely just a bunch of goof-offs? I mean, what should we say?
Well, I give them an F. And
F.
I think that I do. I absolutely give them an F, and I feel like the American public's being a little generous with the 13%.
Why do you give them an F?
Because I think that right now we have a hyper-partisan, Congress. We can't get anything done, and Democrats, Independents, and Republicans want to see people come together. And it seems as though we're locked in this generational grudge match that we can't seem to get beyond. And I think that the country is yearning for solution-based politics.
I don't want Congress to do anything. So I embrace the gridlock. I'm glad that they're incompetent. The more incompetent Congress is, the better it is, because they can't spend our money when they don't know what they're doing. The other thing, too, is the worst thing that they did, it turned out to be a great achievement. By foisting and ramming health care reform down our throats, it created, in effect, the Tea Party, an organic movement that came as a reaction to the strong-arming behavior of Congress.
So what's your grade?
I give Congress an A.
An A.
But I'm not going to tell you what the A stands for.
Okay, Jamie. Well, how do you grade Congress?
First of all, Greg is very funny, but his sense of history is off, and I'm glad he's sitting way over there instead of next to me.
Oh, you love
the Tea Party came about before the health care bill. It was after the stimulus bill.
It was engineered. It was
before the health care, well before the health care bill. It was after the stimulus bill. I agree with you, Governor, that if people have a problem with what you said in your opening monologue, if people have a problem with Congress, they should get out there and serve themselves. And we need more people who are willing to serve. I do think I wouldn't give them an F. I wouldn't give them an A. I'd probably give them a C+, a B-, but at least they're out there serving. And I wouldn't call them silly names like Wiener. It's all very funny. You want to tear it all down. But what's your solution? Let's hear some solutions. All of this may be very funny, but these are our representatives. I bet you every person in this room,
for everybody.
Every person in this room cares enough to have voted. These are voters sitting here, and you're insulting them with your silly.
Let's change the subject. Let's talk about the omnibus spending bill, because that was one that went up like a rocket and down like a rock. Harry Reid unleashed that one. It didn't last long. And boy, oh boy, did it fall with a thud.
On the omnibus bill, C-, maybe even D+.
Okay, Greg, omnibus bill, what do you think?
2 points. If in bad times your advice is not to spend and cut taxes, why don't you do that in good times as well? I don't understand why you only do the right thing when you're in trouble. Number 2, this was a victory again for the Tea Party. It was America who caused the omnibus to fail, not anybody else, because they were the ones that said stop spending. So I give it an A.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
We're almost out of time. I've got to let Reshma have this. Reshma, go ahead.
There's no Tea Party? There is no Tea Party?
Time out, Red Team.
Okay, kids.
Reshma,
take a break.
the purple jersey gets the ball. Okay.
It's a national imperative to pass the budget. Harry Reid had to bring it up. And I think, again, it shows what's exactly wrong with this country, the things that people are sick and tired of. The State Department, and the Defense Department, Gates are pleading with, the Senate to pass something. And we are now facing a potential shutdown in February. It's wrong.
There's a question of leadership for Harry
How would you give us a grade on the
I give it a D. I give it a D.
A D?
Yes.
I'd have to say that Harry Reid gets an F for even bringing it up. He should have known. The man at least can count to 51. And when you're the Senate Majority Leader, seriously, that's what your job is. Count to 51, or in the Senate, count to 60. When you can't do that, you don't bring something up, because that was an embarrassment to his party and to his president, and he didn't look real on it. Thank you very much, Jamie, Reshma, and Greg.